Good morning, Cecilia.
Yeah, you.
S.
This is G.
Good morning to the folks who are coming in.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, good morning. We'll just give folks another 2 minutes to get in here, another 3 minutes. Give some folks some time.
And it cancels out the whole entire thing. This kid is so nice.
Just waiting on a few more people. Do folks have their, I guess, like have them in a group me or something just to text people and say, hey, come to class?
How you doing today, Erika?
I am good. I'm good. I'm just trying to, take everything one day at a time. But I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. I kept waking up.
Oh,
Um,
shoot.
I had when we had that meeting this morning, and I didn't want to be late to it. I thought it was at 8 o'clock. It was at 8:30, so I
Oh,
could have slept an hour more. But it's all good.
Brianna, you didn't say nothing?
No, because I did the same thing.
Oh, shoot.
I thought it was at 8, not 8:30.
Yeah, I woke up. I looked at the time. I was like, oh, damn.
All right. So it's a very short, we only have about 9 people in here today. I'm just going back to my list to see who's missing. And Juan and Brianna, do y'all have like a because you have, okay. So some folks are letting me know on the side. Okay. Okay. Well, let me see here. Let's get us started because I know that, I want to make sure I respect and honor when Dr. Tom comes in and not run into her timing for class or anything like that. Um, so I said yesterday that when we were talking about EOP a little bit, that I wanted to make sure that I showed the video to you all, kind of recognizing the history. So I want to kind of start off with that. But before I do that, there's this thing that I like to do called a rose and a thorn, right? A very, very kind of um, smooth check-in. So rose is anything that's good, anything positive, anything that you feel is great that's going on for you. A thorn is anything that is like bad. Like a thorn, you ever poked a thorn before? It's like, ouch, that hurts. So anything that's like, needs some improvement or anything you feel is just like not going right, that will be your thorn. So I'll start off and model it, right? So my roles is that I'm currently like at home, like in LA right now, but I can't wait back to get to like my home. So I'll be going home soon. My thorn is that my internet was acting crazy yesterday. So for some of you all, when I was supposed to have a one-on-one and I'll follow up with those people, my internet was just like not feeling me and I was not feeling the internet. So the connection was really bad and I'm sad that I wasn't able to connect with some of you all in our one-on-ones. So that was my thorn. Um, and I'm gonna popcorn Destiny.
Um, can you repeat the last? Because I was cracking out. I don't know if it was my internet or yours, but it was
Yes,
like
see,
cracking out.
yes, that was my thorn, Destiny, my internet. So the thorn is something bad, the rose is something good, and my thorn was the
Okay.
internet.
Oh, okay. Something about me is I'll sleep, but I wake up like extremely early. So like today I woke up at like 5 for just like no reason, but like I'll take a nap throughout the day. So like I think that's like bad.
So that's your thorn. That's your
Yeah,
thorn. Okay, and
yeah.
what's your rose? Something good
Waking
or
up
positive.
early,
Okay,
waking up early because you get things done.
okay. Early bird gets the worm. All right, all right. I feel it. Okay, and who do you want to
And
go
do
next?
Oh, okay. Popcorn Stephanie.
Stephanie?
She says her mic isn't working. So she put in the chat, my rose is I finished a book yesterday.
Okay, okay. And then what about your thorn? If you have any thorns. Sometimes you may not have a thorn, sometimes you may not have a rose, because we know how life can be. Good. Don't say yeah. We don't want none, Stephanie. We don't want no thorns. So I don't have any thorns. Okay, Stephanie, who would you like to go next? Okay, Cecilia.
Good morning, everyone. My rose is that I've been really productive this week, and I've actually like gotten up early and like worked out this whole week, so that's really good. But my thorn is that I can't get myself to go to sleep early, so I'm kind of sleep deprived. So yeah.
Dang. Okay. All right, Cecilia. Who else you would like to popcorn to go next?
I would like to popcorn Destiny.
Oh, Destiny already went.
Oh, should it went.
Hmm.
Uh, I would like to popcorn Abigail.
Hi, my rose is that I have more time during the day, so I get to do what has to be done, and then like some free time. And then my thorn is that because I have so much free time, I'm almost finished with the Netflix series, so I don't know what to do after that. So yeah.
That's a thorn for sure. Finishing that good Netflix series when nothing else
Mhm.
matters but me and the Netflix.
And I popcorn Josue.
Josue. Josue?
So his mic isn't working. So
I need to pay attention to the chat myself because everyone's like, they put it in the chat and you are not looking, you are just talking. Okay, my internet is pretty choppy, but my thorn is my procrastination. Okay, that's been my thorn since birth. And then, but my rose will be my determination to finish an assignment at the best quality that I can give. Well, snaps to that, Josue. Procrastination, but I'm gonna still put my best effort for it. That's what's up. And who would you like to go next? JJ Hunter question mark? Okay, so I think he wants you, JJ.
Okay. I could say my rose is having, I guess, a job with stable hours, but
Mhm.
my thorn is I'm exhausted. So
Hey,
it is what it is.
you know what? Yeah.
I'm gonna call on Jonathan.
Let me make sure I pay attention to the chat just in case Jonathan says something in the chat and I miss it.
Yeah, my rose is day 3. It's close, and part of my thorn is I can't go to sleep. Well, it's hard for me to go to sleep in the night, and I have to have like 4 alarms to wake me up. Yeah, that's my thorn.
Okay.
Um, who did Haley go?
No.
Oh, then Haley then.
Okay. All right, then Haley then. All right, thank you, Jonathan, for sharing that. We have to talk about these sleeping patterns. That's probably why everyone cameras off right now. Because we're trying to catch up on the sleep that we didn't get to sleep, so we're gonna sleep to get some sleep. Oh, Jonathan, don't lie. Don't call. Laughing means yes, you are right, Erika. You are right. I'm sleeping, sis. Okay, Haley. I'm paying attention to the chat too, just in case I missed something. Haley?
So Haley's rose is that she was able to run a mile, do her chair workout before 9 a.m. today. Her thorn is that she didn't run and had enough worked out enough.
Mm. Okay, thank you, Haley, for that. For the cheers, no workouts before 9. I mean, that's a good start, though, to some healthy fitness. That's a good start. Okay, and Haley, who would you like to go next? I'm paying attention to the chat. For some reason, thank you, Brianna and Juan, for being here, because I would be missing all of the signs in life. So I'm anticipating, waiting. I think not everyone has gone. So Selena hasn't gone. I don't think Selena hasn't gone.
Hello? Should I go?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. Good morning. And I would say my thorn is probably that I'm like slightly tired just because I was going to sleep like kind of late before orientation started. And then I guess my rose is that I was able to go on a nice walk yesterday, so that was nice.
Okay. Nice walk. That's what's up. But the sleeping, y'all must have been up late night in group me or something. Team Ruby, Team Reptar, probably going at it, battling each other. Juan and Brianna, did y'all get it? Everyone's like, yeah, who hasn't gone? Who hasn't gone? I'm like, the leaders. Y'all would like to share?
Oh, should I popcorn one?
Yeah, Selena, I'm over here. Yeah.
I'll popcorn, Brianna.
Okay.
Good morning, y'all. So a rose that I have is I'm almost done with my summer class. The
Nice.
thorn is that I still have a lot of homework for it.
Oh, okay. Shoot.
Mm-hmm. I know. I'm almost done with it though. I'm excited.
Okay.
And I'm not sure, did Abigail Quinn go?
AQ? Let me go check the chat.
Go ahead then.
Okay, yes. I'm like, let me check the chat again. Mm-hmm. Taking more naps. Oh, taking more naps. Wait, Abigail, you're supposed to be in class. You taking naps throughout the day? No, I'm kidding. I'm so kidding. But okay. Yeah, those naps will get you caught up. Who else? Juan, I know you haven't go. I think AQ, you just went. AE, did you go? Abigail? AE? No. I think
she did.
She did.
Yeah, I think it's just me who's left.
Oh, okay, Juan, say last but definitely not least.
My thorn has to be that I wasn't able to go on a hike yesterday. Was busy yesterday with all online stuff. And then I think my rose is that today I have time, so I'm gonna spend a good hour, maybe two, kind of detoxing on technology for a little bit.
Okay. Well, I just want to say thank you all for sharing your roses and your thorns with me. I think that's an awesome check-in for folks. You can kind of take it whatever you want. There's been times where I had absolutely no roses. I couldn't smell the roses. I couldn't see the roses. And there were absolutely times where I didn't have any thorns, and there were roses all around me. So I'm glad that y'all are checking in and stuff like that, and that's amazing. What I want to do is just drop this off in the group chat really quickly. Is that we are going to continue with our cultural affinity group meetings. Today is going to be Asian Pacific Islander American Faculty and Staff Association and APIA student clubs from 1 to 2. So I'm going to put this in the chat as well, along with the Zoom link as well. So let me go back and share this to everyone. And put
Erika,
this
can I
in.
say something real quick?
Yeah, definitely.
So the Dream Center has opened a new position. It's the Dream Center Catalyst, and there's going to be a stipend of $3,000. So you have to be an undocumented student to qualify. So just letting you know, if you have any friends that are Sonoma State students, that the Dream Center is opening a position for undocumented students, and the position is paying the student $3,000.
And I believe there's more information on that on their Instagram, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay. So do y'all have any questions about that at all? Anyone have any questions? Okay, cool. So right now, what I should be doing is talking about to you all like college success and what makes a successful college student. So we'll talk about that for a few minutes, as well as tips for remote/distance learning. So I would say that I would like for myself, Brianna, and Juan to kind of like just give, if you could tell your first year self, or just your first time starting off your college adventure, wherever it was and whatever that looked like, what advice would you give to yourself when it comes to when you were about to start your journey within college, within higher education? What advice would you give to yourself? So I'll kind of model that. So the two things that I would tell myself is that, Erika, is really important to go to office hours, because sometimes the professor may not say in the actual classroom, they will definitely inform you about that in their office hours, especially for all my folks who are going to be STEM majors, and even for folks who are going to be social science and A&H. Writing was not my strong suit in college. So going off to office hours for my stats class, my social classes, and any other GE or major requirements was really helpful for me to get additional insight that the professor did not provide me in the classroom. So definitely going to office hours is really important. Another thing I would say that's important is getting involved in programs that you are actually interested in. It's so easy to become overwhelmed and wanting to do a little bit of everything. But as someone who has like kind of like, been in school for quite a while, and especially when it comes to like building my resume, it was really important for me to have the quality of my involvement versus the quantity. How did you make change and move and make restoration in the spaces that you were involved in? How did you move up to leadership positions? How did you collaborate? How did you provide teamwork? What were some innovative things that you brought to that space? So yes, it's important to get involved, but having over 10 things and just being a general member is different than being a part of 3 things and actually being an advocate and an agent of change in those spaces. So go to office hours and be involved intentionally and make your impact that way. So those are definitely some things that I would say contribute to making some college student success. And the list is exhaustive, and we'll talk more about it when I have one-on-ones with you all. And then Brianna or Juan, y'all are more than welcome to share. And if you have more than 2 things, that's fine as well. I just want to be mindful of time.
Yeah, so what I would definitely say is don't be afraid to ask for help. I made the mistake of not asking for help, and it definitely impacted me negatively. I didn't like asking for help because I felt like it made me look stupid, but that is not the case. Knowing when you need help is the smartest thing that you can do. And then the next thing is don't compare your successes to other people's successes right off the bat when you go into your first year. A lot of us come from different backgrounds and have different resources, and that ultimately lets us achieve different things. So yeah, definitely don't compare what you have done to what other people have done, because you are capable of doing so much more.
And what was your first thing, Bree?
To not be afraid to ask for help.
Okay, there we go.
For me, it would be to relax. It's okay not to know what you want to be in life. Um, I kind of what I did was explore different classes. So like your general ed classes, the main purpose of them is to, if you come in undeclared, is to find a different subject and something interesting. What I did is I avoided classes I took in high school. So from my government class, I didn't take U.S. history just because we've been listening to U.S. history for 12 years. So I decided to take something new. Another thing I wanted to say is definitely go to events, even if you're going alone. Sometimes kind of just getting yourself exposed to the community, the staff, and then let them know about your story, what you want to do. As Andre kind of said, as everyone here in case EOP, we know a little bit of something, but we'll know our job is to know a little bit of something. So that's kind of the thing is you might not know everything, but your advisors might know someone who will help you get to where you need to go. So just don't be afraid. Like once we go to campus, there's always events happening. It's like for myself, there was events on becoming a teacher, and I know that's what I wanted to do. So I would just show up, and I usually went alone. That's when I end up meeting the Puerta teachers, the School of Ed program, and that's how I got to know my community a little bit better.
Thank you both for sharing. I think those are some awesome things to talk about, right? Is not being afraid to ask for help and not comparing your success to others and realizing, relaxing, and understanding that you do not have all of the answers for what exactly you want to do and how that's going to benefit you in the long run. But just trusting the process and relying on community by being exposed and going to events, even if that means going alone, because this is definitely a time to learn more about yourself and what you want out of life and the impact that you want to make. For folks who I would love to hear from our students as well, you can unmute yourself or type in the chat. But what do you think will also contribute to your success as a college student at Sonoma State? And anyone can go or unmute.
I'll just go ahead and just say, like, not being afraid to be wrong, because I feel like that sometimes like hinders yourself from like being able to learn. And I know that I've gone through that where it's like, because I'm scared of failure, that I don't even try. And then like it would benefit me more to fail and then learn from my mistakes than to just like be afraid and not take the chance.
Okay, so not being afraid to be wrong and take the chance. All right, thank you for sharing that, Cecilia. Anyone else? You more than welcome. You can type it in the chat or you can unmute yourself after you see Jonathan.
I would say probably like dedications and patience. Like you gotta be dedicated in your work, and then like, we got accepted there for a reason, and you just have to have the patience because sometimes we might feel like, like uh, like Juan and Brianna said, it's gonna be a lot of work, but we just gotta like like hold us up with each other accountable and like push through. Yeah.
Okay, dedication, hard work plus patience. No, I'm sorry, talking about Nipsey Hussle. Okay, Josue. Okay, oh Josue, turn it on the camera too.
This is
Well,
my thing. Oh, that's what I look like. Sick. See, I'm like on my laptop. Okay. one mistake that I made in high school was like I wasn't really social enough with people that I didn't know, and I feel like you're gonna regret that. You gotta really just kind of like talk to people, talk to your classmates, be friends with the teachers. Like if you're friends with the teachers in the class, it's a lot more chill. They sometimes help you with your homework, go to the office hours, go to have study groups, that kind of stuff. Just all the support you can have, you should definitely try going for. Yeah, that's what I have to say. You guys heard that, right?
Yeah, we heard you and we see you. We
All
see
right.
you too. So that makes me happy. We heard you and we see you. Who else want to be seen?
Oh,
No one? Okay. But no, Josue, I would definitely say I think that's dope as well, is to be social. I am an introvert. I'm a social introvert. The way that I like to recharge is being by myself, but when I like to step out and be around my community, I think that's important. It's to not isolate ourselves. Because there are a lot of folks who are like, from Santa Rosa or Sonoma County. We have some folks who are from the Bay Area, from Southern California, Central Valley, Central Coast, out of state, or further up north. So a lot of you all will be away from family, close friends, or a very familiar environment. And that can definitely have an impact on your collegiate success based on how involved you are on the campus and what you want to do and stuff like that, and being social. I know Josue mentioned being friends with the professor. I was like, but no, I think that's important though, because a lot of the professors, they may have an interest. You may have a similar interest with your professor and what they did, and so it's networking as well. Okay. Anyone else? Please share.
I would say definitely learning how to manage my time wisely
Mm.
and making sure I do things right when I get them assigned, because I tend to leave it until the last minute, which is really bad.
Okay. We appreciate the honesty, Abigail. We do, AE, because procrastination is real, and time management don't be so real for me all the time. Procrastination be winning and time management be losing. So I think that's really important. I see here Stephanie said taking the time to do the homework on time. Yes, do that homework. Upload it on on your Canvas. And I'm excited that you all get a little taste of that right now, and that you're working with your professors and they're kind of giving you a hint a little bit about what it's going to look like. So you have the opportunity to really see that and stuff like that. Okay. Anyone else would like to share? Because there's so many tips to be a successful college student. Okay. Cecilia, come on. Say that one more time, Cecilia. Type it again. Type it again. Type it again for us to all see. Come on. Just one more time. Take your time typing it. I need you to just put it in there. Okay, there we go. With 2 exclamation points. Come on now. Can we get some snaps for Cecilia? Like some quick snaps showing up to class. All right, I think y'all are snapping. Snap. Thank you, Josue. Thank you, Josue, for the snap. Who else needs to snap? We need one more snap. Just one more. Let's not leave Cecilia hanging out here. Let's get some more snaps in. Destiny, Abigail, Selena, JJ, Jonathan. Start calling y'all out. Yes, snaps. Okay. Showing up to class is important. Snap. So come on. Showing up to class is really, really important. I think it dawned on me one time back in the day when I was in school, that literally the days I don't show up to class, I basically, even though I was a financial aid recipient, I basically wasted like $200 to $300. Like by legit just not showing up. The government, they got my money. Even though it wasn't my money, it's still the money that in some ways I had to pay back or grant. Whatever it was money being wasted. Every lesson, I can't stress this enough, y'all. That's why I said with advising, I want to make sure that y'all take classes of your interest, that you enjoy going to, that you actually find amazing. Now, there are some GEs that are required that you're like, Ms. Black, I'm not feeling that. This whack. I get it. But I think for the most part, showing up to class is really, really, really essential and really important. And on the idea of showing up to class, being completely transparent, there will be some professors who at SSU, I don't know, Brianna and Juan can speak to this a little bit more because they're actually doing the online remote learning at one point when we transition, but there will be some professors who will want avid participation, which may mean they want your camera on, which may mean they want you to actually be typing in the chat. So I know for me, I'm kind of like, I don't necessarily want to force anyone to keep their camera on or have it on because I know there are different situations. That's why we have our cameras off. You are definitely entitled to, like, you know, who you want to see your surrounding. I understand that. My camera, that's just my face right now. So I get it, right? But there will be definitely some folks, some professors who will want your camera on, right? Or will want in some ways for you to like be very engaging and stuff like that because it's hard, and we're going to transition into this, being engaged remotely. So what are some tips for this remote learning that you all will experience this upcoming fall semester? Number one tip.
Can I say something real quick?
Oh yeah, for sure, absolutely.
Yeah, and like Erika said, some professors will make it mandatory to turn on your camera. So if you'd like, you can even use this time, because I know for the longest time I didn't feel comfortable having my camera on during Zoom meetings and all that stuff. So you could use this time to practice, to turn your camera on and have like feel more comfortable in front of the camera. I know it's weird, especially since you're in your own room and like you're trying to hide the mess in the back. But yeah, use this time. We're all tired. I know I wake up a little early to not look tired. Um, but yeah, use this time as practice.
I also want to say that a lot of y'all for first year are going to be placed in the same classrooms. Also be checking out EOP be sending, when it's time to sign up for classes, EOP sometimes saves classes for EOP students. So you'll be with the same students that you came in with. So you'll probably be with the same group that you are here. So this is the whole point of Summer Bridge, is to meet, you know, your fellow students that you'll be with for the next 4 years. So it's kind of a good to like know each other.
Thank you, Brianna and Juan, especially as current SSU students, especially as students who are utilizing case services. It's really important to try to make this experience with Summer Bridge, even though it's virtually, is real as much as possible, because it's going to get real when it comes in the fall semester. And not real in that you're not capable of handling what is to come, but real in that it's going to look a little different, a lot of different, when it comes for the fall coming up this semester. So really take this time with Summer Bridge to really engage with the students around you, come to one-on-ones, be active and participant and like in your classroom settings, even in Juan, Team Reptar, Team Ruby, not the programs, but the different activities that they may have you all do. That in a way is a form of leadership in some ways, right? Where you may one day be in their shoes and be a Summer Bridge leader. And how would you necessarily want your students to interact with you? How would you necessarily want your students to collaborate with you and stuff? So I say all that to say that a number one tip for distance and remote learning is definitely to be aware. It's so easy to be distracted. The lawnmower going on outside, the cat running around, mom starting to yell or something, or dad starting to yell, or the parent, your brother and sister, or your younger sibling, you're trying to sneak into the room and take something that you said do not touch. And the next thing you know, you done missed the whole stats introduction. And stats is a demon. I'm scared of stats. I should have asked y'all what class y'all scared to take. And for me, it will always and forever be stats. I'm allergic to stats. That's how scared I am. I agree. Yes. Yes, Brianna. So that's the number one tip I can have. I also understand that saying that, oh, have a quiet working area is not necessarily the case for everybody. It's not, especially with COVID-19, libraries are closed in some areas. So it's definitely going to be hard to transition and having a space that's designated to be a student for some of us. And that's something that we're completely aware of. completely aware of. So my tip for that is maybe communicate now with your professor. If you do have a professor who's like, I need you to turn this on, explaining to them communication is key with this remote right now. I appreciate a lot of you all who have chatted me privately or emailed me saying, Ms. Black, I won't be able to make it today, or I will be here, but I have other things going on at the same time. That you are already practicing being taking initiative by communicating with this remote learning. There is no, I'm going to go to your physical office hours. There is no, I'm going to physically. You have to do a lot of this communication virtually through emails and in some ways through the Zoom chat as well. So that's why I'm really excited to really talk more about like the tips for remote learning and having Juan and Brianna. They're literally all of y'all in essence have gone through it. So what tips, Brianna and Juan, can you provide though from an SSU perspective in being successful with like the remote and online learning?
I think the main tip that I have is really being open and communicating with your professors. I have had instances where I have not been able to turn in an assignment on time because I was either working full time or I didn't have time because I have other responsibilities now that I'm back at home. And they're really understanding, believe it or not. They are open to give you an extension. Um, yeah, just communication.
Yeah, definitely. Once we went remote, it was kind of a bigger change just because it hit us mid-semester, and so life we had to, adapt with change quickly. For two of my classes, I had projects kind of due that week, but with everything going on, I had to pick up some extra days at shift just because my parents weren't working. So I emailed my professor and letting him know. He was really cool about it, and he just said, "Just turn in what you got, and if you have any mistakes, just send it back before this day." So that's a lot of teachers will be like that too. I also, for my research class, I let my professor know too, and she was like, "Oh, okay, just turn in what you got." And she was also really like, she also let us know like, if you decide not to do this, this is what your grade will look like. So she also kind of like let me know. It's like, okay, so if I don't do this assignment, this is the grade I will end up having. A lot of professors will be really flexible with you, but for me, it was mostly in my major classes. So once you get into your major classes, those will most likely be the professors you'll be seeing the most. So once you find a professor that you like, get to know them a little bit more, just because they will be also your department advisors. So get them involved too.
Another thing is you may think you're the only one who's struggling with a certain assignment or with a certain aspect of the class, but if you never tell the professor, there may be other students who are also struggling with that same aspect, and the professor may be more willing to be lenient towards everything that's going on because they have multiple students coming to them with the same thing. So always voice your concerns.
Thank you both so much for just sharing that information. I think the first step that you all have taken is showing up to class consistently is really going to set the tone in terms of what that fall is going to look like remotely. Is there any way that you feel, if anyone would like to share, what would contribute to your success? What are some tips that you give yourself? Because you all in high school, at some point, y'all did have to transition to an online structure. And so, what helped you get through those last few months of your high school career online? What tips did you constantly tell yourself?
Um, I knew that like other students in my class were going through the struggles, so I took the time to like collaborate with other kids in my class to do the work together because sometimes like instructions from my teachers like weren't as clear. So that kind of helped me.
Okay, so building that community is something that's really important. Understanding that we're going through this together and stuff like that. I do. The time is just too short with you all. I can talk to y'all for 2 hours. Wouldn't that be cool? Don't you should see the blank faces I didn't got right now. Now y'all trying to smile to make me feel better. Don't do that. Don't smile. Don't smile now. Everyone's like, no, not really. So I don't know if you all have access to this in your Canvas. I'm switching gears a little bit. My apologies about that. But please make sure that two things. I need folks to sign up for, oh gosh, where am I? Okay, I'm gonna just come back over here and just say, I need folks to sign up for one-on-ones with me. If you have not met with me yet, I want to meet with you. And if you've already met with me, I will want to meet with you again. I want to meet with you all as much as possible because, like I said, communication, that is a successful tip that I have to helping you all out, okay? I want you all to complete this on your own time. And I want to talk about it with you all in a one-on-one for sure. Because let me tell y'all something about financial literacy. At my big age, kind of big, I'm not that old, well, kind of. At my age of 27, this is something that I am still learning. However, have I gotten this resource in terms of how credit card works, healthy financial habits, creating a budget, checking account, and paying for college when I was 18, so 9 years ago, almost 10 years ago, starting college? I think some things will be different for me right now. So I really want to make sure that you all know and understand what it means to create a budget, what does healthy financial habits look like, how credit cards work. I can even talk about my personal experience as well when it comes to finances because I want to be transparent and open with you all about it and how I got my first credit card when I was in college and stuff like that and how that went and where I am today. Whatever Brianna and Juan also feels comfortable talking about as well, talk to us about that. So once again, if you have not already, please sign up for a one-on-one with me because some folks I have not met with. Some folks signed up for the very last day or just one day far in advance. Like, okay, it's the second to last day, so let me just give her a chance and try to talk to her. So please sign up to meet with me one-on-one. I would love to definitely meet you all because I may not see you physically on campus, but I'm going to see you at some point. I'm going to see you. And I'll be like, I remember you. I didn't really see your face like that, but I kept seeing your name. And I didn't see your face till one-on-ones. So please make sure you sign up for a one-on-one as I want to dive more deeper into talking about the conversations that we have because it should not stop here. Tips for how to be a successful college student, tips on remote learning, financial literacy. None of that should stop here. So any questions for me, Brianna, Juan, or another just for the entire group? How are you feeling right now? For the folks who got their cameras on, give me a thumbs up, side down, no thumbs, a power fist. Okay, we feeling, okay, that was Josue, where's your thumb? Okay, I see it. Okay, Selena, your thumb up, it was down to the, no, okay. And in the chat, for my folks put myself on mute. For my folks in the chat with the cameras up, how are you all feeling? Cameras off is not messing with me. They're like, we gave you a snap. That's all you're going to get out of me today is a snap. I'm not telling you how I'm feeling and you want too much, Ms. Black, right now. Good. Okay, Destiny's feeling good. AQ, how are we feeling? Good. Cecilia, okay. Carla H, Stephanie, Haley. Okay, I'm feeling fine. The homework is tedious. Okay, we appreciate honesty. Good, tedious. Okay, we appreciate good, tedious honesty. We appreciate good, tedious honesty. I'm feeling okay. 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 Well, I know that at any point, Dr. Erika Tom, she's going to be logging on so y'all can get, started with your day. I look forward to seeing y'all tomorrow, bright and early at 9. Oh, actually, no, I don't think I see. One of these days, I don't see y'all in the morning. Isn't that sad? No, y'all don't care? Okay. Abigail made a little face. She was like, I'm going to just put my lips up a little bit and make her feel as if I care, but I really don't. Sad. Okay. Thank you, Josue, with the asterisk to, I guess, put a little extra on it. Okay. Got it. Got it. Um, so yeah, we're 1 minute out from y'all break. Go do what you gotta do. Bio break, snack break. Let me go run to the store real quick and get some hot Cheetos. I am not encouraging talking about financial literacy. We also need to have something about health as well, because that's important. And not so much in body shaming, but what goes inside of our body in terms of what we eat is really, really important. So, yeah. All right. Well, I just want to reiterate again today that the cultural affinity group that will be going is the Asian Pacific Islander Faculty and Staff Association, as well as other APIA student groups on campus from 1 to 2. And I shared the Zoom link. So please check it out. Who went to Alianzas? Um, Juan, you went? Anyone in the chat? Can we put it in the chat if you went? No? Kind of. Oh, Jonathan, you lay down when I asked that question. Where do you go? Oh, Jonathan was like, no, I'm laying down. Leave me alone. Okay. All right, y'all. Well, I'm going to let y'all go on your break. Please don't forget to sign up for one-on-ones. I'll be emailing you if you haven't. And yeah. All right. So I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for the chat. Good mornings. All right, so to begin right away, we'll take a moment to do a land acknowledgement of wherever it is that you are. Right now, I'm sitting on a hill here in Occidental California, the traditional lands of the Coast Miwok and Southern Pomos peoples who still live and work and practice their culture here today. If anyone would like to just make the acknowledgement, you're welcome to do so. That's a new friend at the farm who is still settling in. So I will be muting myself in between. Please feel free to put it in the chat or to say it out loud.
I'm also from the Miwok indigenous people.
All right, and in the chat, it looks like we have several people just placing in their acknowledgements. So thank you everyone for doing this. I know it takes a few moments, but it is important to remember where we are, the history, and the ongoing colonial state of the United States. So today in our class, just so that you know, what we're doing is we will be talking a little bit about discussion, and then we will move into a discussion of the text and videos from last night. But first, I'd like to just get any feedback, initial feedback on how the process of watching the videos and reading the text. So at this point, this first go round that I'm asking for is not necessarily for your analysis or thoughts yet on the text itself, but just process of reading. So it can even just be a word like surprised, upset, excited. So that's what I'd just like to kind of go around and just hear from each person, like that it was easy to do or it was hard to do. Remember, so you can give a word if you want, or you can do the sort of 1 through 5. We can just get a check-in on
that. I can start. So, okay. I'm not sure we're talking about like all of the videos and then the reading, but if you're talking solely on the reading, it was the process of it was easy. I mean, like, I'm pretty sure we've all taken notes. I'm pretty sure we've all highlighted, so it wasn't like that difficult to like really capture the key moments and like the key concepts that were in the passage. But the text itself was kind of hard to read, you know? Like, I'm sure everyone has their own viewpoints on like what's going on in history and what things should change. And like, yeah, it's definitely like what is real. And it's, in my opinion, kind of sad how like 100 years have passed. I think like the text was based off of like 1964 or something like that. So not 100 years, but still more years than it should take to change something. But I like the reading essentially. You know, it opens your mind up to someone else's viewpoint. You know, someone else that had to endure these endeavors. So yeah, that's my take on it.
Wait, so we just talk about the reading of the videos, right?
Yeah, so right now I put it in the chat just so that it's really clear, is that we're going to move into a discussion of the content next. But first, in my classes, I like to value what was just your experience of reading it, just your experience of watching it. So literally, I'm just asking you to share, what was it like to read that text? New, interesting, different, boring, read it before, didn't like the videos, thought one was great. So right now, I just want us to take a little time so that we can all share what just the process was like for us. And then we'll move specifically into discussion of the content and the topics of the text.
Okay, so I have probably the same experience as Josue about the reading about the talk of a teacher, something like that. I had a little bit trouble with that one, but I plan to read it through. And then the video, there was like 2 videos. The first video was it got my attention because it talked about like how they used race and like how to promote their products and everything like that. And then when it talked about the 9 candidates from the school going into a white school. And the second video, I really had no clue what she was talking about, the teacher. But I replayed that video like twice and I still didn't try to get it. And then probably the third time, I got like half of it. But yeah, that's what I think about it.
I really enjoyed the text. I thought it was really like well written. And I also thought that like a lot of the themes throughout the text are still like present today.
I really liked how the first video tied in with the reading. So like it talked about James Baldwin as well. So you kind of got like a preview of what the reading was and it explained it. So then when I went to read the passage, it wasn't as difficult to understand.
All right, thank you. Anyone else, you can feel free to put in the chat here. You can see that a few people have weighed in just on informational. Some of the videos were a nice guide to follow. I understand that the second video was maybe not as clear, as straightforward as the first. Some people, Sabrina enjoyed learning more about the topic. Stephanie, reading was interesting, but I enjoyed the first video very much. All right, so oftentimes in an academic classroom, sometimes you may have already had this experience or you might have it in the future. Some professors will tell you to, it doesn't really matter how you felt about it, right? We're doing analysis. Anybody heard that before? I saw a little bit of head shaking. Right. And so in my classroom, I like to come from the perspective that it matters entirely how you felt about reading it and how it spoke to you. And that, so what I do like to do is I like to have people share first what it was like for them so that you can identify that feeling. It's useful to be like, okay, well, this is how I felt about it. This was what it was like to read it. And then for us to also discuss, okay, what were some of the topics in the content, and then be able to reflect, well, why might I feel this way as I read it? And why might somebody else have a totally different response? So in valuing both how we feel, right, and our analysis, we begin to identify and be able to empathize and think about why we might have different reactions to and thoughts about a text depending on our positionality or where we're coming from. I do want to hear, before we jump into a discussion with on specific topics and questions you might have, is I just want to ask you all, what are some things that might help a Zoom discussion like this? What are some things that we want to do as a class as part of the discussion? So you can put in the chat or you can share your voice. What are some basic elements of having a discussion? How might that be different on Zoom? what might you want to do? What are some good practices or guidelines? So I'd like for us to co-create that right here now, in the chat and via voice.
I would like to say that one of the most important aspects of a discussion is participation. I mean, you can only get out of it how much you put in. And I feel like visual contact or eye contact with people is a big cue or factor in what causes people to want to let's say participate. So I feel like that might be a little bit difficult on Zoom just because obviously not everyone's comfortable being on camera. So yeah, I would just say the environment of the classroom as a whole, to make sure that people are comfortable enough to want to be to want to share and feel like their opinion matters.
Thank you, Cecilia. I tried to put some of those in the chat here. Participation, eye contact, showing you're listening to someone, environment, classroom culture, that everyone's opinion matters. And so we can do that via eye contact, right? We can do it by showing ourselves here on the screen. What are some ways that you can do that? So somebody shares, how does the next person who speaks, how do they show that they were listening?
They could probably add on to whatever they were saying, build it up.
Or maybe recap on what the last person said and then kind of go based off of that.
Great, and Abigail added as well, adding on or giving their perspective. And so from Jonathan, building up upon someone's point. Alternatively, you can say, right, you could use Abigail's point about recapping, and then you could say, well, this is what I believe you said. I actually think this, right? So it's basically, rather than everybody having a monologue where each person just says, well, this is what I think. Well, this is what I think. Well, this is what I think. Is that a conversation entails that we acknowledge what somebody else said, and then also say that somebody shares a point, but nobody else is really saying that much about it, and you want to change the topic, you can actually say that, right? You can say, unless anybody else has something to say about this, I'd like to bring up this topic. So those are a couple of great points from y'all about just about how we want to have the discussion. So thank you for chiming in on that. And I see Hasway is asking, are we talking about the reading now? So now we're going to talk about the reading. So it's very meta, right? Everything's building up here. So first I ask you, right, well, how'd you feel about the reading? What was that like for you? And then just setting, co-creating guidelines for our discussion, and sort of some of the things that we want to do. And then now we'll go ahead and we'll open discussion. And how I would like to do that, some people will just, in a classroom, they'll just say, what do people want to talk about, right? Other people might have something really specific that they're looking at. But for today, what I'd like to do is I'd like to have each one of you put a question, topic, or quotation in the chat box. Okay, so I'm going to give you like 3-4 minutes, and I want every person to write in a quote, a question or a topic in the chat box. Okay? All right. All right. Thank you, everyone, for putting your questions or quotations in the group chat. So I'd like you, if you probably have begun already, is taking a look through each one of those questions. So take a look through each one of those questions. You may want to make notes to specific ones if you'd like. Part of the reason of having all of you put in a question or a topic into this chat is we did talk yesterday a little bit about how we all learn differently. So some of us might have a harder time following an oral conversation, just like back and forth, kind of tracking that. So this is a reason to have questions and quotations on the group chat so that people can be looking at and looking back to any of the topics if you kind of lose your place. All right, so where we go from here is now we are just open, open for conversation, wherever you would like to begin with any of the quotes or questions, topics that are put up in the chat. You can go ahead and just speak if no one's speaking. If you'd like to speak and you're not sure, you can use the raise your hand. There's a little hand that you can raise so that myself, Brianna, or Juan can unmute you. And we will just go from here.
So I have a quote. It says, once he suspects his own worth, once he starts believing that he is a man, has begun to attack the entire power structure. So what I gained from this quote was that James Baldwin was explaining how in the education system, once one starts to question it and starts to, I guess, rebel against it, it's kind of like a bad sign for the structural and systemic system overall, because it's based on not wanting to question, not wanting to be curious about the whole system.
I'll go. So Baldwin had a lot of like good points within the text. I also liked the videos. I think the first video, I forgot who it was, but he explained that African American students back in the 19, I think it was based on 1960. They had some weird times because there was this one topic that the ways that African Americans were taught in popular culture kind of, I don't want to say propaganda, but they would see all this news, they would see all these pictograms of essentially like showing that the African American before them enjoyed being a slave. They would show weird, like I don't know what the word is, but it's like they would show like soap advertisements. They would show like these young kids enjoying, like, you know, smiling while being a slave, and it was a tough time for me. I believe that because they had to grow up thinking that that was their past, that, you know, that it was enjoyable. And I want to touch upon a quote that Baldwin touched on, or more of an idea. It was presented, I think, in the video as well. That the N-word doesn't belong to the actual African American. It belongs to America. The white people invented the word, and that the word reflects more on the creator. Which is just an interesting topic for me. I want to do a little bit more research on that solely, kind of like trying to, he elaborated a little bit more. But that's mostly what I got from the text. It was a weird one. It was a weird one. It was a weird one for me. But yeah, that's what I got most from the text. Sorry, that sounded like really weird and convoluted. Should I pass it on to somebody, or should I just like
I can build off of what you said. So building off of like, wait, I'm gonna take out my headphones.
Okay, so building off of what Josue said about the depictions of Black people in society through like pop culture and like cartoons and like food ads and stuff, Baldwin talked about like the idea of like the coon justifying like the need of slavery because Black people were perceived as unintelligent and dependent on white people. And it also reinforced the idea that like Blacks were passive or subservient, which was like really ridiculous. But he also stated that he didn't want to be perceived in that light, and that was not who he was, and not what he wanted African Americans to be perceived as well. But
yeah. So like Sabrina said, I feel like most of these images were created to kind of show the idea that African Americans were there for the benefit of white people, and it basically just like erased the whole contribution of African Americans in America. Yeah.
And kind of just touching up on what like the last point that Abby made, I definitely agree that the education system, especially like K through 12, is not meant, it's not designed for people of color to learn about their culture or like literally any country other than America. And like we just learn to like retain information for a test and then just like completely forget it and not know any relevance to it. And so then I just like how it's like very saddening and heartbreaking that till this day, like in 2020, we still aren't taught so many things like Black Wall Street or Tulsa or things like that. And it just like going back to Baldwin's quote where it's where he states like if we were to show how history and tell the tale of how history actually took place, that we wouldn't only be like freeing people of color and Black individuals, but also the white people who are ignorant and neglect to actually like realize the way that they think history played out is not the way it actually went down.
I
definitely.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry.
You can go.
You can. Okay. Thanks. I definitely agreed with what a lot of Cecilia said, and I also put down the quote, the purpose of education is to create in a person the ability to look at the world for himself. Also, I thought it was really interesting when you talked about like kind of history and how that's taught like through the different school system and how it's not really like properly taught, and in the sense that just like there's a lot of, I guess, like stuff, like you referenced like Black Wall Street and stuff that isn't really standard within curriculum, and even just across like the US between like the different geographical regions, like the discrepancy in like how history is taught. So I think that's really interesting. And then also, I know James Baldwin in the article talked about, sorry, I lost my train of thought. He kind of talked about how, like, I guess like the people who are kind of like, not like in control, but I guess like have more power like over the education system are like happy with people just being like kind of compliant within the system, and how it like the whole, I guess, system is just kind of like taught or just set up to I guess just create people who like follow rules and don't really question very much. And I think that that's kind of, I definitely see how that like is a thing, and how even just like in a more broad way than just in terms of like, you know, like African American or like minorities, but just in general how the education system is set up to kind of just teach people to follow rules and not really think for themselves.
So yeah, adding on to what Cecilia, Josue, and Selena said, I feel like it's important to point out how all of this relates to today in our society today. Like the advertisements, like we still see some of those with top designer brands like Gucci, like in the video that we watched. And also James Baldwin pointed out in his text that he said, in order to justify the fact that men were treated as though they were animals, the white republic had to brainwash itself into believing that they were indeed animals and deserved to be treated like animals. And I feel like that's important to point out, because what we see today right now with Black Lives Matter and all of that, there you see a lot of people justifying how Black people are treated in America right now, and police brutality and all of that, saying they should be compliant and all of that. They still have that mentality today.
Y'all are doing great. I'm just trying to capture some of the notes that people are saying here in our chat and sort of reframe or just add in questions, but please feel free to just keep on moving here. And if someone doesn't respond to sort of the more immediate questions on the chat, you can always go up, scroll up, and take a look at some of the previous topics and questions and themes that were discussed.
Okay. Again. Someone just commented. Okay. So you asked the question, is it still happening today, and what's the correlation with like the Black Lives Matter movement? Me, I don't know. I don't want to give too much of my opinion because I don't know if that's the right thing to do. But something that was mentioned within the resources that we got was that some parts in the United States are still segregated, like in 1964. And I don't know. Whenever like I think of that, I think of it as, oh, share your perspective. Okay, and then ask questions. I got you. Wait, I was for thought. Okay, so yeah, schools are still segregated, and I feel like it's important. I understand the aggression, and I don't want to say like the force, because force sounds like it's a bad thing. No, like it's still happening today. Too much time has passed by to still let these things happen, and it's upsetting because I'm like, there's been worser issues out there that have been resolved quickly, and I don't know. But in correlation to the Black Lives Matter movement, I don't know a lot about it because I was raised conservatively, so we're not allowed to really have an opinion on it. But what I'm seeing so far is that this is upsetting to everybody. It's constantly reoccurring. It's, the mistreatment of minorities, specifically African American people within America, and I completely understand where everything is coming from, because it is unfair. You're supposed to live with freedom and unity, but you're not treated as such. So I feel like that's what Baldwin was trying to say by, you know, you can't. Yeah, I don't know. You can't change it. You can't change it. It should change. I don't know. It's a weird take, but yeah, that's what I got from it.
Can I build upon Josue's he said about segregated schools, right? And well, in some schools, well, some of my schools and probably some of your schools, you guys see that people normally hang out with their own race. People are not as much diverse. People, the African American people, sometimes they go in a group and they have their own group, and then Hispanic people have their own group, and then Caucasian people have their own group. Everything is and in the middle there's a group of where everybody it's like African Americans, Hispanics, Caucasian people, Samoan people, and different various things. So people they like to hang out with their own groups instead of being diverse, or if anybody's Mexicans, they go and hang out with Mexican, and some people are Salvadorian, some people are Salvadorian. I'm half Mexican and half Salvadorian, and some people tend to joke about oh, you're Salvadorian, but they don't see me as a Mexican too. But the people I hang out with is they're diverse. I hang out with a whole bunch of black people, a whole bunch of people from Nigeria, Samoan people, Tongarian people, Hispanics, Salvadorians, Guatemalans, Hondurans, and I just see that throughout my school, people tend to hang out with their own ethnicity, their own skin color, or the same, yeah.
I want to add on to Jonathan's point. I feel like it's more of a cultural thing, because when I see a Mexican, I'm Mexican. I don't really know. I'm a Mexican. I'm Hispanic. I'm from Mexico. When I see someone of similar culture, it immediately kind of makes me feel like I can relate to him. I can talk to him about yo, I know how your parents were like. I know what kind of food you eat, and I feel like we're social creatures, and kind of finding whatever similarity we can with someone else immediately kind of attracts us to them. It makes us want to hang out with them. It makes us. So I understand what kind of grouping you're talking about, because when I talk to other cultures, I feel like I'm an outcast completely, because I have no idea. Especially if you have a different language, it's hard to relate. It's hard to really connect, and then that's when the humane level comes in. We're all humans. We all share that culture. We all have the same struggles on a basic level, and that's where I feel like diversity should really get involved in. Not solely sticking to our culture and what we were raised on, but also reaching out and trying to learn someone else's perspective, someone else's life entirely. But I completely get your point, Jonathan. I just want to talk a little more about that, because yeah, I see that all the time too, man.
Thank you. And let's pass it over to Destiny.
Okay, I wanted to bring out a quote that I saw that I had put in the chat, and it says, it is your responsibility to change society if you think of yourself as an educated person. And I think this means you have to educate yourself on these type of topics to understand what people are actually going through. And today in today's society, we do see a lot of Black Lives Matter and it is, you have to educate yourself on these type of topics to understand what people are going through, and kind of like relate to people, because if you don't, then you won't like understand what they have to go through and what they feel and what they understand. So I think like this article brings out like a good point of view for people that don't really understand it or don't really like get the message that they're trying to bring out. So I think that it's a really good informational like article that was brought out.
Thank you, Destiny. So we have 15 more minutes, and so I'd like to just sort of prompt a little bit, thinking really about like what are the main takeaways from a talk to teachers. I shared with you, and you have access to the whole week here, but I shared with you that part of my asking you to do this free write on day one was to ask you to think about what education meant to you, right? To think about yourselves, who you are, and what it means for you to go to college, right? What it means for you to be in the summer bridge program headed into fall 2020 semester. And so this text, right? This text says a lot about education and society. And so tonight, you're going to be reading another text that has another perspective, shares more information about education, perspective, positionality, your position in the world, right? And so you're going to be putting together at the end of the week an essay where you're going to analyze, well, this is what this text says about education and society. This is what this author says about education and society. Here's what I believe, right? And you're going to be comparing and contrasting this. So I would like to give you that a little bit more focused prompt for the remaining time that we have is, what does James Baldwin think about education, society? What's the takeaway for you as a student reading this text that was published a long time ago, right? And what does it mean to you here and now? So those are a few questions, and I'll put them in the chat, but as a way to kind of help you move forward with your notes, right? Towards some writing that can be used for your essay. What's the point of this essay? What was James Baldwin trying to accomplish? What does education mean to him?
So I think what he is trying to say through the text is he talks about how society changes and he talks about education. So I think he's connecting those two together, saying that in order to change a society, you need to change the way you educate children and how you educate students all around in schools.
Great, Destiny. And so then I ask a further question here. So James Baldwin says we need to change how individuals are educated. Change how? What does he identify as what has been the history of education in the US? And what change to what? And that's a question for everyone, right?
I think he was trying to say that it's essential for the education system to teach African American curriculum, and in that way, not only can Black people learn about themselves and the history, and but also, white people and everyone else can learn about it too, and kind of like uncover the lies that many of us have been told.
Great, thank you, Abigail. And so anyone else, what are some of these lies, right? So you have all actually in this conversation already shared a lot of what you could use to respond to the prompts I'm giving you, but I'm asking you in such a way so that you can really begin kind of like bullet pointing, right? So what's some of the evidence? I mean, talking about evidence, right? We'll use evidence in an essay. So look back at this chat. Y'all put in some like really interesting quotes here, some important ideas. So what could you use to explain further what James Baldwin is talking about? Share context.
Oh, I forgot to like Abigail, what she said about like some lies. Sometimes people don't tend to lie about it. They tend to find like loopholes, and sometimes they don't educate us in that. They use sometimes it's all about perspective, because a U.S. history book is different from a history book from Africa, a history book from Mexico. Everything has a different way of saying it. Sometimes history books kind of sugarcoat it for us to understand it better and us to believe that U.S. didn't do anything bad, and that they tend to leave out some important stuff. And that's what I wanted to share about. Like, they just tend to leave out stuff that is really important, but we tend to figure it out once we realize it, or once it's happening. Yeah.
Sorry, I just muted myself. Jonathan, thank you. I put in the chat who tells the story of history. And then I would ask further, and you don't have to actually answer this question right now, but I want to give you these questions for you to think about, like in terms of writing, is, you said, oh, it leaves some things out, right? Well, when you write that out, so I'm doing a few things here, right? We're doing some discussion. I'm also like trying to help you think about how do you move from discussion into writing, is, well, what things specifically? So are there a few examples that you would use? You would say these things are generally not talked about in my history class in high school, right? The personal is political, the personal is evidence. So you talking about what you were taught in your high school classroom, that's evidence that you can use in your essays. So there was a second thing. So the first one I was going to ask you, always be as specific as you can. A couple of you have shared things where you say like, oh, well, that was sort of hard, or it was things. So this is for everyone, is when you think about moving to your essay, go from general or abstract to something really specific. And then you said one other thing, and I wanted to highlight it. What was the second thing that you said? It's about something. Oh, I wanted to link back between what Jonathan was sharing and what I'm going to forget now. It was in the chat here. When someone's brought up the idea of African Americans' history from the African American perspective being included, right? Being able to learn about your own people, right? And so so I wanted to just, put out there, like, did any of you have an ethnic studies course and multicultural studies course in high school? Got one hand? Anyone else? One more, two hands? Right? So that's great that you did. It is not part of like the Common Core, right? It's not something that is included in all high schools. So oftentimes people will say, I had to wait till I get to college to take classes to learn, right, about this diverse country that we live in and the diverse experiences, right? So again, thinking about these specifics of when Baldwin asks for change, what kind of change is he asking for? So I'd like us to pivot here in the last 7 minutes that we have to bring it back to what you said about education. So now, right, you got to identify what's Baldwin saying. Then you could look back at your free write and your notes. What did you say? Does reading Baldwin change how you think about education at all? Does it support what you said? Are there some contradictions? Do they seem just really different? So that's a next step for you, is to be thinking about it. And so anybody who has some first thoughts, like, yeah, did this like pretty much go with what you were thinking? Or did he say some things that maybe were part of what you think, but you didn't talk about it yesterday? Or do you feel in contradiction with him? So I'm going to leave you with those questions and thoughts. So write them down because I want to be able to give you a couple minute break here before I know that your professor has come on for your quantitative reasoning course that starts 11. So I apologize. I should have ended you at 10:50. I just got excited about where we were headed there. Think about these questions. So I suggest you do a little bit of writing after your next class of just like summing up. What did Baldwin say? What are his points? What are his examples? And then look back at your own free write. This is all going to help you build towards a more cohesive essay in the end. So tonight for day 3, you do have homework to read. You have a shorter video, a short essay to read. And then we are going to tomorrow be meeting on Canvas. It's asynchronous, which means we're not necessarily doing it at the same time. I'm going to be on there throughout the day, but much like today, everyone is going to post a question. The directions will be really clear, but you're going to have a discussion over Canvas. So when you do that, I'm actually going to post a question for you on there as well as a model. Okay, so any quick questions, thoughts, concerns? Yes.
I normally tend to do my homework like around 10 to like 2 hours, like from 10 and like to 11:59. Those are like my hours, so I don't know if somebody's probably gonna get to my question.
Oh, okay, no problem. No problem. Thanks for letting me know that. Absolutely no problem. If you have any other questions or you want to meet in my office hours tomorrow, live on Zoom, just send me an email. Thank you all for your participation today. And I'm looking forward to canvassing with you, being on the Canvas discussion tomorrow. And please feel free to reach out to meet with me in my office hours if you have any questions or concerns. Thank you.